Hey everyone, thanks again for clicking on Short Takes. This is our season finale for season 1, and we'll be back with you later next year. But we are the online talk show for the Alabama Take. You probably know that by now. We hope you do. And if not, go back and watch some of our older episodes. They're definitely evergreen, and you can get a lot from our guests. We dive deep with our guests, and I'm happy to have this guest on today because we go way back, but we haven't talked in a very long time. Talented member, multi-instrumentalist from the Montgomery-based band Electric Blue Yonder. And you can check them out. We'll get into that, where you can hear them. Let's go ahead and talk to our guest today. Beth is with me from Electric Blue Yonder. Hey, Beth, how you doing?
Hey, Blaine, doing well. How are you?
I'm great. Welcome. It's been too long. And I'd honestly be curious to know how many of our viewers remember you and your work on the French horn and vocal work in the old Tuscaloosa band Squirrel House. But just in case they don't know, you are with Electric Blue Yonder, and that is a band, a project with your husband, Johnny. And what else can you tell us?
That project started back... we started doing music together back in 2010, and we just did it for fun. Around 2013, 2014, we started getting asked to play some local gigs, some local songwriter things. Again, it was still just fun for us. And then folks started to encourage us to really try to pursue it. So I would say 2015, 2016, that's when we really started writing a lot of music for the project, and then filling out the band aspect of it. Russell Thomas Bush, who also played in Squirrel House as a bass player, joined us, I believe, in 2017. And then we've had numerous drummers work with us throughout that, but Russell has been involved with the band for several years now. And we've, since that time, we've done some touring on the West Coast and the East Coast. We've put out our second full-length album very recently. And we, hope to be out on the road over the next year or so.
COVID, of course, putting the brakes on a lot of musicians. I imagine it halted some of y'all's plans as well.
Yeah, it was really weird, the timing of it all. So our first album, our first full length, came out right before the shutdown. So in 2019 we had this great year. We were playing up and down the coast. We played this awesome music festival called The Coast is Clear down in Key West, Florida, with Raylan Baxter and Susto and some other incredibly talented people in December of that year. We released our album called Between Space and Time on February 29th, 2020, and then we were shut down 2 weeks later. I guess we were all between space and time then. But, so we took COVID very seriously. We stopped traveling. We focused on a lot of production at home. We knew we had this next album concept in our heads. Then we started working on that. We're very lucky that we have a studio right around the corner from where we live, called Technical Earth Recorders, and it's a very high quality, awesome studio run by Robert Shemp, who did a lot of time out on the West Coast before coming back to open it up here. So we started recording our next album and doing a lot of in-home videos and things like that. So we definitely did the best to use the time to work out the production side of things and the writing, but it was hard being off the road and not seeing your friends and your fans and connecting like that. It was very tough.
How heartbreaking was it to be on the cusp of releasing an album and playing shows, and then just have to cancel everything except for the release, obviously, but the shows and stuff?
Yeah, it was tough because we really had some great momentum, and we actually had a big show booked at Saturn with Susto that got canceled and rescheduled again. We're playing this December with them at Saturn. So it's really cool that we were still able to make it happen. But, you just felt like you'd sprinted and everything was looking great, and all of a sudden the whole world is a different place. So it was tough.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll ask the worst question ever for a band or a band member, and that's what's your perception of what Electric Blue Yonder sounds like?
Okay, yeah, no, we get that a lot, and we certainly our sound goes a lot of places. We started out with really folky kind of roots sounding stuff, and Johnny's
Mm-hmm.
very influenced by Pink Floyd. I'm very influenced by the Beach Boys and Pet Sounds, and kind of that psychedelic side of things, and that's where this next album has really gone, is that mixture of roots and psychedelic. So that's how I would describe us currently, but I say we're an ever evolving project, because we pursue what we think, what we like, and what sounds good. And it doesn't necessarily always fit to the format of radio per se, but it is what we like to do.
I've heard folk influence and rock influence, of course, and I've also heard dashes of swing in your music. Am I wrong in thinking I've heard those things?
No, you're absolutely correct. Like I said, we all have a wide variety of backgrounds, and that all comes to the table when we play. And again, like I people have asked us a million times, like, well, how would you describe your sound? And we just say, well, it's American space folk.
Yeah, it's a plethora of things. What's the songwriting process end up looking like? Do you fiddle around and bring a song to the band, and then does Johnny do the same thing? Do you always write together? What's it look like?
Usually one of us, and it's mostly Johnny and myself at this point in time, but usually one of us will start messing around with a chord progression, and then the other one of us will be like, hey, check this out, like, what do you think? And we'll kind of go back and forth on that, and then once we fill that out, then the words are kind of the next step. But we kind of have I would say both of us, when we have that chord structure written up, we already know what the song is going to, what the theme is going to be, like what it's going to be about roughly. And then he's more of a lyricist than I am. Lyrics are very hard for me personally, but we work it out, and then we bring it to the band, and typically, it just goes from there.
Oh, and you got the newly released album, and that's just been out less than 2 weeks at this point from when we'll be releasing our show and talking. Where can people hear it and pick up copies of it and everything?
Yeah, so of course it's on all the major platforms, but I strongly have encouraged people to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're very fortunate in that our neighbor and good friend Irby Pace is a videographer. He's also an internationally known photographer who happens to live in our neighborhood, which is also a really cool and neat story. But he's done a lot of the video work for us, as well as a guy named Josh Carpels, who's also a very established filmmaker. And so our videos for this album, they're awesome. I don't know if you've had a chance to check them out, but it's really high quality stuff that they do. It's very artistic. So I encourage people, if you're going to choose one, like that's where I would go to. But it's on Spotify and iTunes and everything like that.
What about your upcoming shows? How can people keep tabs on where you're going to be and when you're going to be there? And give us some upcoming shows you guys have lined up in the fall and winter.
Yeah, so the next one that I guess in lines with this schedule of things, we have Ghost Train coming up, which is in Birmingham. It's a brewery in Birmingham. Next weekend, Saturday, with Zach Austin Band, who's a great local Birmingham band. And then we've got some more shows scattered throughout the region. I would say we're really looking forward to that Susto show in December. I think that's December 17th. And then we'll be closing out the year with the Coast is Clear Festival again, down in Key West with Susto and Raylan Baxter again. And they also have the Black Pumas and Liz Cooper, Phosphorescent. So that will be a really fun weekend.
It will be. What was it like to get to play some shows on the West Coast?
Oh, it was amazing. We knew we were going out there because my sister-in-law was getting married, and they had asked to play an event for them. And so, we had talked about it for a long time, and we were like, well, this is an opportunity. And we bought a Ford Transit, a used Ford Transit, and built out bunk beds and kind of figured out how to make it camping worthy. And we routed the tour all the way out there and back. We ended up in Upper Washington State. The strategy for booking that, we do all of our own booking. And my approach was, okay, the small towns, like, small towns really are, we found, very hungry for music. And so instead of trying to book these big places where no one knows us and we're competing with a million different bands and things happening, let's book small towns and let's do it outside of national and state parks, because we also want to camp in really pretty places. And that's what we did, and it was great. People were very kind. Yeah, people want to come talk to you. They want to like hear your story. I want to hear their story. So it's a cool way to connect with people. Of course, people are out there looking at the national parks, and you get to have that shared experience and awe of the beauty of all of it. It was a really neat experience.
Yeah, that's giving me some serious nomad land vibes.
Yeah. And then everybody's, I don't know, it's a whole culture of camping vans, and it's not just young people, older people. I think there's like more older people than young people doing it. So you'll pull up to these national parks and everybody's like, check out how I built out my van, or this cool thing that I did. It's a really cool culture, a group of people that are just traveling the country doing it.
It sounds great. That sets me up really well for the first question. We'll get into our 4 questions now, and what I'll do is I'll put your YouTube channel link below, and some of your website and social media links below too. So what do you think needs to change with music locally and universally?
Well, locally, of course, you know, it's great when local communities support their local musicians, and I think that applies across the board no matter where you live. I mean, you know, we experienced that in Tuscaloosa too. You're always hoping to get that local support and local buy-in. I wish people sought that out more than they do. And of course, you know, the pandemic made that so much harder, because who's going to go? And I didn't want to go to a bar or a restaurant. I mean, I wanted to support those places, but I didn't want to play in one until we had, you know, what we have now, which is good. But, you know, that's number one. But also locally, I think Montgomery has a lot of really talented musicians, and I think that gets overlooked. And I'm not sure quite like why that is the case, but I wish people knew that. And I think part of it is that some of our older local folks don't have a ton of recordings, but they've traveled around the world with some really famous people. So that's partially on us to record that history and document that. But I do wish that Montgomery was seen, especially with our jazz scene in particular. There's a really great jazz scene, a strong jazz scene. I wish people knew that about our town. Nationally, well, that's a whole other thing. So nationally, I wish people were, you know, again, interested in seeking out authentic quality stuff, and that's a big beast to try to change. But the competition with the internet's tough, and the internet's been great because everybody can be a musician, but it's also really hard to cut through all the noise. And then, you know, to be successful, you know, you have to do things like either work it full time and then try to make the numbers work, which is really tough, or hire it out and try to get attention from tastemakers. It's very tough. Yeah.
So outside of music, what's something that you see people taking for granted that you've learned to appreciate more? And maybe what took you so long to get there to appreciate it?
Yeah, well, you know, again, when the context of a pandemic, I think we all like learned to look around us and see what's there. Maybe we missed out before, and you know, we were traveling a lot prior to the pandemic, and so when that happened, you know, there's this community of people, and you kind of feel like maybe we got a little disconnected from that, even though we're a small town. But when it all started and no one really understood what this thing was or how it was spreading, we would just be all the neighbors would be out in their yards just hanging out, chatting distantly, very distantly. It was a really great way to bond with folks. And then we knew our neighbor Irby very well, but we didn't start collaborating with him really until all this happened, at least not to the degree that we are now. And so we've made all these really cool connections with people. And it's awesome to have people around the corner that you can just go sit and talk to and like relate to about all this stuff. So I think we've taken our communities for granted, and at least for me personally. And it's cool to sit back and like feel connected or reconnected.
Let's dive into you a little. Let's get personal. People who listen to Electric Blue Yonder are going to find out something, hopefully. What about you personally is the most misunderstood?
I think I think that's a very difficult question. I think I'm a very serious person when it comes to my work and what we're trying to do, and I think sometimes I come off as like, I don't know, I don't want to say not approachable, but I think I'm an introvert also by nature. So I wish people would come up and talk to me more. It's very hard for me to initiate conversations with people, but I like talking to people and I like hearing their stories. And so if you want to come chat, come say hello.
It does take a little work. Let's get to our fourth one. Our fourth is a little more lighthearted. If we get too deep with some of our questions, we keep our fourth question on the positive side of things. And you may know this one, Beth. We did have our old saying, done up real good. We might have used that way back when. That's our catchphrase for our show and for our website. So tell me what's done up real good for you of late.
Okay, of late, well, I'm going to go back to those personal connections that we've been making throughout the pandemic, because this business, when it comes to music, is very tough. And the rewarding part of it is when one person is like, I really felt something. I really reacted to what you said. I really had an emotional experience. That always makes it worth it to me.
Yes.
But recently we've been working on a children's project, which I'm very excited about, because to take on the perspective of a child is fun. And you, like you said before, you look around and you see things that you've forgotten about, or you kind of take for granted, like rocks or plants or water. And it's really cool to kind of get back into that mindset and like take a look around you, and then make this really lighthearted, fun music that honestly, like everybody that's worked on the project so far, it brings them so much joy because it's just fun. It's fun. There's no worries. There's no, it's not kind of this anxiety I think you get from working on like things that you consider your art per se, which can be tough, but it's really cool to like take a step back and think about life from like the perspective of a child. It's a lot of fun.
Gosh, that's one of my favorite answers to this question I've gotten. And if you ever want to come up to North Alabama and spend some time with a 4-year-old, you're welcome to come see our 4-year-old. She does that. Rocks are interesting to her. Leaves are interesting to her. A dog, the joy of seeing a new dog, just anything like that is, I can't imagine what it would be like to look at life through her eyes all the time. And that's going to be such an interesting project. You're going to have to correct me here because I may be wrong. Have you guys already started working on that and releasing some things based off of that project?
No, we've started recording it. So we started recording it in Muscle Shoals at Portside Sounds last year, and then we've done some more recording actually a few weeks ago. And then, the hope is to get it out next year. That's the goal, and I think we can do it. But there's one video on YouTube, actually. We did one of the first songs we wrote was inspired by The Very Hungry Caterpillar, Eric Carle, the book, with the beautiful caterpillar and the butterflies and stuff. And he passed away this year. So we put out a video in memory of him, of that song, and that is on our YouTube channel. But we have not put out anything like officially yet for that.
It's that video, I think, that I'm relating to the project. Will that song end up on the record?
Oh yeah, it's a really fun one. It's just, like I said, it's the second song we wrote. Okay. The first song was a lullaby for my little nephew when he was born. And then we, kind of similarly, a friend heard it and was like, you should do a full album of this. And so that's when the Caterpillar song came up, because we both enjoyed all those books growing up. And since then I've been like, let's talk about the water cycle. Let's talk about history. Let's do something about, the roly-poly who's trying to get across the sidewalk. It's really fun.
I'm excited for that. I want my little girl to hear it too, so that's going to be a lot of fun. So everyone be on the lookout for that early 2022, or at some point in 2022. I think I'm putting words in your mouth constantly today. Don't let me do that.
Yeah, I think early to mid 2022. I think we'll definitely have it ready for the holidays of next year.
All right. That's fun.
With fun videos. That will also be a very YouTube-heavy project.
Perfect. Yeah, looking through the eyes of a child. That's magical stuff. Just to go a little tangential, have you had any run-ins when working at Portside? Did you have any run-ins with our Alabama Tech guy, Adam Morrow, who's musician in his own right?
I do know Adam. I haven't seen him at Portside. We're working with Dan Lee Murner up there.
Yeah.
And Kimmy Sampson. Great people,
Yeah.
great friends of ours. In fact, Kimmy's all over our record. Like, she's all of our violin parts, and she, worked with us and getting Caleb Elliott,
Yes.
who plays cello on our stuff. And of course, we've seen Adam like going back and forth in the area. But he's a super nice
Adam's
guy.
great. He's one of our guys who helps out on the site quite a bit and with our podcast and stuff. So a lot of our viewers might know old Adam, and yeah, he is great. He's really nice. That's really cool that there's that connection. And I've heard Kimmy Sampson play a lot, and she's fantastic. So that's really up in the ante on my excitement too. This is great. I'm glad we got around to mention that, because that's
she actually is helping us produce our kids' record.
That's so good. But yes, let's not put the cart before the horse. You do have your album out right now, and we'll put some links for people to go and watch, to get some copies of that. We want people to follow you on social media, because Electric Blue Yonder is about to rev it up. It sounds like, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. They'll be near you. In fact, if you're watching this and you're one of our Tuscaloosa people, you might have just seen Electric Blue Yonder last weekend. So I'm sure you've had a blast. Beth, it's great to see you again, and hopefully next time will be sooner than later. It's been a while. You and Electric Blue Yonder are making great music, very versatile players, I think. And I can vouch for you personally in being all great people. All of you are. So my hellos to the rest of the band. We'll make sure everyone knows where to get everything from Electric Blue Yonder in the notes. As for our viewers, thank you for joining us, Season 1. It's my pleasure to have you on. As for our viewers, we'll be back early 2022 as well. So take care. Thank you all.
Bye.
We went walking, it was blowing.